Okay, two men, Sean and Chris, spread the word of their people across this vast universe. The word of movies, comic heroes, toys, video games, etc., etc., etc. There are many podcasts, and this is one of them. You're listening to The Geeks Talk Back.
Notice we have no plan or show notes.
It's worked so far.
Yep. But this is a discussion we've had before, so...
I don't know if we can capture that lightning in a bottle, though.
I will try, though.
We're going to try.
It was really good. 4 or 5 hours, though.
Yeah, I don't see us going that long.
No. I don't see anybody listening that long.
I don't know if I can stand looking at you for that long.
This is Jason Hatfield, and you're listening to Sean and Chris on the Geeks Talk Back podcast.
By the power of Grayskull, we're sending you back to the future. Go! Okay, man, let's turn and burn.
Force is strong with this one.
The plaque for the alternate is down in the ladies' room.
Welcome back to the Geeks Talk Back podcast. I'm Sean.
I'm Chris.
And today we are visiting, or I should say revisiting, time travel. Yeah, this is a topic that pretty much was the start of our in-depth conversations, which kind of morphed into us doing a podcast.
I think this was the turning point, and actually this was the conversation that we're talking about in general regarding time travel was actually what Sean referenced when he told me stop being a bitch and let's do a podcast. And I couldn't.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah, I couldn't argue. It was awesome.
That was Exhibit A, the defense arrest.
Yes, the defense arrest. He had me.
Yeah, because we ended up having, like I said, a 4 or 5 hour conversation. Started with, I think it was Terminator.
With Terminator.
And then we got the Back to the Future.
And then how many DeLoreans? And where did we go from there? It went
the time travel paradoxes.
Yeah, multiple dimensions. And
yeah, so we will get to that. But first, we're going to take a break and hear from the other members of the United Podcast Alliance.
Hi, this is Jason Hatfield, telling you to listen to the Nerds with Attitudes podcast. Listen to the Nerds on iTunes or at nwak.podbean.com and put some attitude in your life, nerd style.
Hi, I'm Patrick Barman, host of the Imperial Podcasting Feed. Be sure to check us out on iTunes, Podomatic, and YouTube, and follow us at Imperial Pod on Twitter and Facebook.
how do you take a break when we've been recording for like 30 seconds?
Well, you just stay taking a break. And
Okay. And you edit it in later?
Yeah.
All right. It works.
It's all done in post. Okay, and before we get into our main topic of the day, we'll touch on This Week in Geek.
What'd you do this week in Geek?
I really had nothing geeky, per se, that I accomplished or...
You're still working on the house, so...
Well, yeah, but how long can I ride that excuse out?
I'll give you till like the end of the summer.
End of the summer.
End of summer, and then we need to get back into the geek stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did, dabble a bit in video games this last week, and I actually had like a bit of a contrast. I played GTA 5, then I also played Pong.
Modern.
Yeah, and then retro.
And then very, very, very retro.
Yeah, like OG. And I actually found I'm better at GTA 5 than I am at Pong.
Really?
Yeah, that Atari is ruthless.
Is it the input lag?
It's not even a lag.
No?
It's just I suck at Pong.
It's all geometry. It's like pool. It's boing, boing, boing.
Yeah, but there's a trick to it because if you move when the ball hits, it actually goes at a different angle.
Yeah.
And the computer is amazing at that game, and I'm really not.
The computer.
Well, yeah, air quotes computer. Although I did get my PA system for my guitar and music and stuff like that to actually go through Bluetooth.
Oh,
so I mean
that's technology. That's geeky.
It's kind of techie, yeah. So maybe
I like it. You didn't even have to call me for that one. I'm impressed. I'm actually very impressed.
Yeah.
Chris, how the fuck? How do I do this?
And I answered a computer question at work yesterday without you. But I did say, okay, this is a Chris question, but I'll see what I can do. And I got it.
There you go. It's rubbing off on you. You're picking up what I'm putting down sometimes.
So what do you got this week?
Oh, it was a pretty good nerd week. I started looking at the Warhammer. Warhammer's a.
Sounds dirty.
It does a little bit. I'm gonna lay down my Warhammer, baby. There's two different types of Warhammer. There's Warhammer, what they call Warhammer Fantasy, which is like Lord of the Rings, Dungeons and Dragons type stuff, and then there's Warhammer 40K, which is it's basically universes. Where the 40K is more like it's supposed to be set in the future. You have like space marines and orcs, and but there's all kinds of different things. There's a couple of board games. There's tabletop games, and then they also have some video games. So to start out, I kind of went full Warhammer this whole week, which was odd. But they came out with a Total War Warhammer game. It's like a real-time strategy where you're building up bases and armies and taking over other thing. So I've got about 15 hours into that game, and I don't know that I like it, but I keep playing it. So it's like it's weird. It's like I keep wanting to play it to see where I can go with it, but then I'm still not quite sure that I like it. So I don't know. And then I decided to get into Warhammer 40K, the tabletop game. So I went and bought they have a starter kit that has 2 armies. It's called Dark Vengeance. So it's not quite. I mean, you can spend $100, $150, $200 on a single model for the game. So it was like $100, comes with a whole bunch of little models and the rules and stuff like that. So started putting those together today just because I've been not busy, just not had any time to do it, because I put together 5 of these little dinky models and spray painted them with primer, and it took me like an hour and a half. So I'm like, it's gonna take me a while to get there. So, but that's what I've been doing. Just dabbling video games here and there. I installed an AC unit yesterday. That's not really geeky, but it had to be done. So
in your house?
Yeah.
Is it a second AC or you replace it?
There's the main house AC, and because we have a 2-story, it's been like, I don't know why. Well, I think I know why, but our bedroom is upstairs and it faces east, south, and west. Mm-hmm. So it gets sun all day long. Being that I work graveyard, it's hot as hell in there. Mm-hmm. So, and in order to keep that bedroom cool enough, I'm having to run the air in the house at like 65 degrees, which is A, expensive as hell, and B, you go downstairs and you need a fucking parka, but you go into the bedroom and I'm trying to sleep and I'm sweating my ass off. So right. I got one of those window mounted AC units to put in my bedroom. So didn't do too bad last night. I cranked it down today, so we'll see if I can, get ice chips on my nipples tonight. And
get some ice on your Warhammer.
That's right. Ice on the Warhammer. So, but yeah, other than that, was fucking around with the computer. For some reason, I decided it was a good idea to try to upgrade to Windows 10 again, even though I've had nothing but failure.
Is it ever a good idea? I
don't think it is, because I've had it like a week now, and the Warhammer game kept crashing and kept restarting on me randomly. So I said, fuck it, and went back to Windows 7.
So, I'm still on 8, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, 8 sucks ass, but that's...
Yeah, but it works.
But it works. 7 works. That's why I went back to it. So that's about it, though.
Well, moving on to the main topic of time travel. Now, time travel, according to Einstein, it's not really you get in a machine and you go forward or backward in time. It's all just relative to you. So the closer you get to the speed of light, everything else slows down. So to you, it is you're actually going you're going further in time because everything else is going faster around you or aging faster around you. And time travel in movies is pretty much how everyone pictures time travel to be.
You get in a machine, you press a button, you go to a year.
Exactly. And I guess that's kind of the romanticized idea of traveling through time. And everyone else has the traveling back to, change something that they wish they had done or gone back to a better time, quote unquote. But
well, it's one of those topics that, as you look at history and things that people once said were impossible are, say 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago are now possible. You look at things as simple as flight. Well, at one point in time before the Wright brothers, a human flying was impossible. There's no way.
Right.
And then things slowly changed. Somebody had said, you know what, fuck your idea. We're going to do this. And now we fly on a regular basis. It ain't no thing.
True, but you have, that's just basically, lift and thrust and drag.
True.
I mean, those are...
It's physics.
It's physics, but pretty much time is almost a concept.
Based on what we understand it now, yes. But even then, you look in the past, our understanding of certain concepts is constantly changing. The world was flat. Well, no, it took some genius to figure out, no, the world's not fucking flat. So I see your point, and it probably won't happen in our lifetime.
Right.
But there could come a time where somebody figures out something that we can't comprehend or can't figure out at this point in time. Or maybe we simply don't have the technology to do. Who would have thought, you guys have, you take somebody, 40, 50 years ago who's on the radio, the idea of a podcast, I mean, we're talking and it's going on through a little machine and into an SD card, and then you're going to put it on your computer, and then you're going to do all your post-process hoochie gooey magic shit. That's all Sean, by the way,
Magic shit.
Magic shit. You're going to email it, or you're going to put it in our Dropbox or whatever the fuck we call it. I'm going to upload it to a website, and then people all over the world can fucking hear it. That's, something as simple as radio and airwaves.
I don't know. I just like the idea of, like Back to the Future. You have a time machine where you can actually go to any time you want to go to.
Well, and I agree that the concept itself is interesting. It's weird. It's cool. And I think, and that may honestly be why society as a whole, especially sci-fi, is so hung up on it, is because it may be something that's so far out in the future.
But you're assuming, too, that once something's happened, it still exists somewhere.
What do you mean?
Well, like right now, we're talking right now. Mm-hmm. A minute from now. So somewhere there has to be a minute ago exists somewhere still. The past still exists.
So basically you're saying every instant from the past has its own parallel universe?
Well, no, I'm not saying a parallel universe, but it would have to be, in order to go back in time, it has to be a spot where you're going to go back to. So the past has to still exist somewhere. So everything,
I see what you're saying.
So everything that's happened is still happening on an endless loop.
Somewhere. Or somewhen?
Wow.
Whoa.
That just happened.
That happened. That's a good one. So basically you're thinking of the concept that once something, like right now, I snap my fingers.
That's it.
It's done.
It's gone.
It's game over. That was it. That was then.
Yeah. I mean, where would that exist to go back to?
So basically, in your opinion, time isn't linear, where it goes from point A to point B in time. So like a minute ago till now isn't linear, and you can go back in any point.
I don't think that every now is a now, and that's it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Is like you're saying that it's basically it exists and then it's gone.
Right.
Not that it's a linear line of an example of, there's a line from, 2014 until now, and that I can go, if time travel was available and accessible, that I could say, okay, I'm going to go back to this point on the line, on the timeline.
Correct. I think once now happens, it's gone. And I think the whole time travel principle is relative to you. Pretty much, you can go, quote unquote, forward in time relative to yourself because you are on a constant, I guess, timeline or whatever. Mm-hmm. Time for you never changes. But the closer you get to the speed of light, everything else slows down. So you're actually going ahead in time because everybody else is aging or progressing faster than you are. So for you, it's been, say 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. But it's been like a year for everybody else. So you've actually, in effect, gone ahead in time a year because you haven't aged more than 5 minutes.
How could you assume that there would be a forward timeline as opposed to there not existing a reverse timeline?
Well, no, you're not actually going ahead in time. It's just that time for you is slowed down. I mean, that's Einstein's special theory of relativity.
Yeah.
From your point of view, so you've gone ahead in time.
But you can't go back. What I want to use is like, okay, say you take a trip to Mars. For you, you went light years away or whatever. Well, let's say you could go light years.
Well, it would have to be light years because if you travel at the speed of light, for everything else to slow down.
So let's say, but that wouldn't work because there would still be a constant. Something else would happen. Because you're talking about a constant travel. So let's say we could travel at close to or at the speed of light. So I travel the end of the known galaxy that's 1 light year away. Time necessarily isn't going to be the same amount. So what I think is 6 months is actually 6 years, correct? That's what you're saying?
Well, the ratio is not right, but yeah.
No, but there's some ratio.
Yes.
So for me, it's 6 months, but on Earth, it's 6 years.
Right.
But we're talking distance, not... Okay. I just went cross-eyed.
I think we're waxing above our level here.
I think we might be. We're right at that tip, though. But no. Okay, because I'm thinking about it differently. Because the speed of light, or light speed, quote unquote, isn't a measurement of speed. Light speed is the measurement of distance.
Well, a light year is.
A light year. A light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year.
Right, at the speed of light. So if you're traveling, 1 light year, you're actually traveling at the speed of light for 1 year.
But when they're talking about light years, they're talking about distance, not speed.
Right. And Einstein says that, the closer you get to the speed of light, everything else slows down relative to you.
See, because the concept of time travel as we know it based on movies, which is gospel as far as I'm concerned, they push a button, get up to 88 miles an hour, poof, you're gone. Or in like the Terminator where they zap them in those bubbles and it takes out half the semi and then you see Arnold Schwarzenegger's butt. So for that to work, time would have to be linear.
Yeah, so basically where I'm at, I believe that, time travel in the real world it's basically your perspective.
Interesting.
That's
well, and plus what you're saying is based on current technology, not the movies. The only option we would have would be to travel a light year or close to the speed of light, if possible, which would be constantly in the future. It would just be relative,
right?
Instead of poof, I'm in 1968.
Yeah, it's kind of when you get drunk and black out, and you wake up tomorrow, you've traveled in time. Because to you, it's been like you blacked out, woke up, and now it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just, it's a perspective. It's a point of view.
Scientists take note. Sean has time traveled by getting drunk.
Yeah, I'm Doc Brown when it comes to that. But anyway, like I said, I think we're waxing above our
a little bit. It's getting close to above our level of
I think we're beyond close.
You think we're beyond close?
Yeah.
Well, see, but what was the recent movie? It was a space movie. I think it was Interstellar. Is that the one with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, which was I saw it. It was kind of confusing.
Okay, because I have it on my DVR. I haven't watched it yet.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet?
No.
Oh,
but I think there was a reference to him leaving and the trip because they were doing like black holes and shit, weren't they?
Yeah,
something funky.
Yeah, and then it's interdimensional stuff too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's not just something as simple as him going in space and going back in time or in the future or whatever. It's there's a lot of layers to it.
Okay. Then we won't get into that since I haven't seen it yet and don't comprehend it.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it either. Okay. And actually, it's pretty good.
Okay.
It's confusing, and don't watch it when the kids are running around because you're gonna miss something. And
okay.
Yeah, we're like, damn, keep hitting that.
Yeah, you do.
We're like laser focused.
Lasers.
Yeah, watch it when you're laser focused.
Okay. So not at like 3:00 in the morning on a bad bender?
No.
Okay. Okay, so Do you remember what the conversation? Because I don't remember our talk. It started. I know it started with Terminator.
It started with Terminator.
But what was our focus in Terminator?
The focus of Terminator was the movie, or the plot itself makes it to where the movie couldn't have happened the way it happened.
Okay, explain, because I don't remember.
Okay. Skynet sends the T-800 back to kill John Connor. Or, sorry, that's the second one, to kill Sarah Connor.
Yes.
Before John
Connor's
the leader of Resistance, is born.
Okay.
Okay, so, which, I mean, that's a sound principle and all that. Okay, go back and kill the leader of the Resistance, therefore there's no resistance, you win. Mm-hmm. Only a problem being that John Connor, after already been born, sends Reese back to protect his mother, to prevent her from being killed by the Terminator.
And the concept was...
Well, Reese is the father.
Yeah, so how could he have been sent back?
Right. And then, when you get into the second Terminator, the computer Skynet was built based on the chip they found in the head of the Terminator from the first movie. Mm-hmm. So, how could John Connor be born if his father is from the future that he sent back prior to... I lost train of thought. This is as confusing as it is.
Yes, it is.
I've thought about this myself, and I'm still lost.
Might have to start drawing on the wall.
That's what we had the whiteboard before.
That's why we did the whiteboard.
And we don't have a whiteboard in here. But, so John Connor sends basically his father back
to protect him.
But
he knows, so he theoretically should have known.
Well, no, but the thing is that John Connor wouldn't have existed had he not sent Reese back to knock up his mom for him to be born. Mm-hmm. So if your existence is dependent upon someone who doesn't even exist yet, how can you send them back in the future to actually knock your mom up to conceive you? Yeah. And then how can the computer that sent the Terminator back ever be built had not sent the Terminator back to be built for the Cyberdyne to design the computer, which became Skynet. Yeah. Does that make any sense?
It makes sense to
because I sound like I'm talking in circles here. I don't know.
We've had the conversation, so I understand the concept. So basically, Skynet itself was built by Cyberdyne based on the chip that was in the T800 that Skynet sent back anyway.
Right.
Or they sent back in the first place in the first movie. Yeah. So basically, it was designed on technology that really didn't exist until they sent it back.
Correct. So
yeah, that's all. So when you dig into it,
yeah. So the future made it to where the past. Yeah. That's what kind of started everything. Yeah. Which, I mean, we didn't discuss that. We're like, yeah, you're right. And then at the end of that one, then we got into the Back to the Future ones. Mm-hmm. And then that started the whole, grandfather paradox discussion.
Which one was the grandfather paradox?
Well, the paradox is, okay, you go back in time and you kill your grandfather before your father was born. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how could you do that? Because if you killed your grandfather, your father was never born, therefore you're never born. If you're never born, you couldn't have gone back in time to kill your grandfather.
But isn't that the same concept that they explore in Back to the Future with the disappearing photographs?
Right, but why wouldn't you just everything be gone once? Because you have the linear time frame, and once one thing is different, the rest of the future.
The rest of the future should be different. And then we started talking about the
parallel universes.
Correct.
So it's kind of like your timeline, with your grandfather, your father, and everything else. It's like a sandbox. Mm-hmm. You have your sand castles and everything else built up. Then once one thing changes, it goes to a different sandbox. Mm-hmm. You can mess that one up all you want. It will not affect the other one. So that sort of branches off into the parallel universe theory. Then you kill your grandfather. Therefore, everything from then on has now diverged into a different timeline.
Well, and that's the concept that they explore in Back to the Future 2. Is it 2? Yeah, 2. Because they go to the future to stop things farther in the future, but while doing so, they alter the past when Biff gets the
Sports Almanac.
Sports Almanac and takes it back to his younger self, Biff. Then Marty goes back to 1989, what he thinks is his 1989.
85.
Or sorry, 85, but it's been completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
Then they have to go back to stop what fucked everything up to get back to there. So you have like 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, however many. So you change one little thing. But the question is how drastic does something have to change for it to change to a different quote unquote parallel universe?
Well,
again, assuming time travel in Back to the Future-ish was possible.
I think you change anything, it's going to alter everything.
So simply, if I was able to get into the DeLorean, go back to any point in time in history, just my presence simply being there changes something.
Yeah.
But so if I went to, let's say I go back to like 1776 and I'm kicking it somewhere in the middle of a field in Texas, which I don't know if Texas even existed in the 1700s. But
well, the land existed.
Well, the land, but I mean, as you know,
as a state,
and as long as I don't talk to any Indians and freak them out, or any indigenous peoples, what would that affect?
I don't know. And again, if you didn't change anything, you didn't change anything.
But you were saying simply my presence in a different time that I didn't exist.
Well, I mean, what if you go to the middle of Texas and then you move one rock, and then that's right where somebody of importance later on was riding their horse to there and tripped over that one rock because that rock was there instead of there. Now that guy died.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it can.
Yeah. You kill a fly and that just like completely obliterates the fly populace for the rest of the world.
Yeah. Or that one fly didn't spread the disease to that one guy, and then that one guy ends up being this freaking
I mean, because you're talking about the grandfather paradox, where if I go back and I kill my grandfather, basically I wouldn't exist instantly. Yeah. The instant I pulled the trigger or did whatever, I would not exist any longer.
But the way that continues from there is that you pull the trigger, you don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then again, if you don't exist, then you can pull the trigger. So, which is why it's a paradox. It goes around and around and around and around.
Yeah. But I did exist up until that time and was able to go back.
Yeah, so, I mean, you exist in that time. So, everything that you knew from that point on no longer exists.
Yeah.
You remember it.
Yeah, I remember because I experienced, but that's where you talk about it being relative.
So it's relative, to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the timeline for you is now from that point on.
And I basically create my own. So you're not saying I just failed to exist.
That's the paradox. There's no cut and dry answer. There's no right or wrong, black and white answer to it.
So basically it could be like the Back to the Future theory where his mom was supposed to fall in love with his dad, but instead fell in love with him.
Right.
And then as they're going along, the pictures of his brother and his sister don't start to not exist because his mom and dad never hooked up, so it didn't happen. So that's their theory on how things happen, is that basically by altering that, it wouldn't exist. But the other option is it could either be I don't exist any longer. Chris is no longer here if I go back in time and kill my grandfather.
Uh-huh.
Or the other theory is that by killing my grandfather, it completely alters history, but I'm still there and I continue from that point and forward with a different alternate future.
Yeah, so if you go back in time, kill your grandfather, everything from that point on the timeline forward is null and void. If you went back to the point that you left, everything would be completely different.
Yeah.
Obviously, because your father's never born, so therefore you never met your mom and everything else. So, so everything.
None of my family and my world as I know it exists.
Exactly.
But I would still exist.
You still exist because you exist now.
That's interesting.
What do you think?
I could go either way.
Either way, meaning?
Meaning obviously, since we're, waxing unintellectual on a topic that's so out of our realm of comprehension, it's stupid. But we both love Back to the Future. Pardon his beer.
Pardon my beer. I'm time traveling.
Yes, you are time traveling. Fuck you. I'm going to have me a beer. I mean, I could think theoretically, I really could see it being either way. That either you just because your sole existence depends on your grandfather having your father or your mother,
Right.
and you eliminating that, you could just not exist. But then again, the third option is that.
But the only problem with that, stealing your words again, is that if you cease to exist, if you kill your grandfather, then you never went back in time to kill him to begin with. Therefore, everything else still unfolds as it did before.
See, that's where it's all convoluted and weird. Or you could everything could just cease to exist because you fucked up something so bad.
Like the universe?
Like the universe as a whole. You're just like, oh, fuck it, and we're done. Because they're always talking about the space-time continuum, which I don't understand. We're talking about time, not necessarily space or distance, so...
Well, it's where you are and when you are.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. Because then you're talking about parallel universe, where that's where the parallel universe comes into effect, because as far as I know it, line A to B is my timeline, and then if I go back to, 1965 or whatever, and kill my grandfather, then it comes a completely different, from that time up until that point is the same, but then it's going to offshoot and then continue to start a new one.
Right.
But that would assume that at some point in time you could get back to the original line, or would it just not exist?
I don't think it exists because, again, everything from that point on is now null and void because it never did happen because he's dead.
Now, what happens if, okay, so I go back in time, kill my grandfather, I still exist, theoretically. So it starts a whole new timeline from that point forward. Everything that had happened from 1965 until 2016 in my life, or my understanding of my life in the world, is completely gone. And then there's a complete alternate one. Now, let's say, because it's only, it's not like we're saying, I went back in time and I assassinated a president or, changed something dramatic that altered the entire course of history. But as far as my family and my timeline, it is altered slightly. Now, obviously, it's going to have bigger effects than just my immediate family, because my family has affected other people's lives, et cetera, et cetera. So there is a little ripple effect.
Right. Well, it was something as simple as, you kill your grandfather, your father's never born. Your father never goes in the military, doesn't go to war, doesn't kill the enemy, and ends up being the next Hitler. Okay. So now, since your dad was never born, he doesn't kill that guy becomes the next Hitler now.
Okay. But yeah, it does. It does have the potential to have a huge ripple effect.
Right. The whole butterfly effect thing.
But okay, so let's say I go back in time, kill my grandfather, go to this alternative timeline. I realize that, but then I go back to just before I killed my grandfather the first time, and I kill myself prior to him killing me.
I was hoping you were going there.
Yeah. So what then? And then I go back to whatever time I left. Is it still the same? Is it the same timeline?
Yeah, I would say so. Nothing else changed. The only thing that changed was that you kill yourself before you kill your grandfather. I would think that you went back, everything would be fine.
That's interesting. I think you need a whiteboard because I need to kind of look at this visually.
I know.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
The Force will be with you.